Hello friends, it's Sunday the 24th of October 2021. Welcome back to the final garden tour of the year. Let's take a look at the fruit trees and dive on in. Not much to say other than I've effectively pruned them all to be the same height, and I thinned out the insides of the few that needed it. It was a hard decision on the peach tree, but I lobbed off that big section up there so it was mostly symmetrical, the same height as the rest of the trees. Hopefully we'll get some nice lateral growth next year, and then at the end of next season I'll really clean out the insides. The orchard in general will be mature enough next year that the theme is going to be fertilizing and pruning, right? At the beginning, at the end, and really work on those kind of routine maintenance that you need to do for mature trees. Before we go in, just take a look. It is empty. It is clean. We can look from the outside. In this corner we have blackberries that have been taking years to get to this point, probably because they're right up against this darn fence. But this year it grew in leaps and bounds. So I hope next year the shoots that I've buried will root and I can kind of get them going over in that direction. Over winter I'm just letting my poles sit here and get covered with snow. Down here in the front are the 1, 2, 3, 4 blueberries. I'll cover them up with that extra wire back there, which used to be for the peas. And in the other corner here, I've got the raspberries. I didn't really thin them out or cut them down too much. Over there I had that big sucker of a mulberry growing up and a couple other gross things. I had the extra volunteer Jerusalem artichokes growing there. Just cut them all down and laid them there to compost. This can be a project for me in the spring when I'm itching to do something in the garden. I can come out here and thin these out. Of course, I say that now with confidence, but we'll see what the spring actually brings. Know thyself, right? Some last vestiges of blooms holding on. Take a look at how nicely the currants grew. There's the red and the black, or maybe vice versa. I don't remember anymore, but they're huge. I'm just really pleased with this. I mean, this has grown threefold this year. Boom. Spread it out. It's almost as tall as I am. I got some creeping Charlie growing on there. And the gooseberry is massive. I should thin it out, but I'm not going to. We're just going to see what happens next spring. But then I have to thin it out after it bears fruit because it's just so massive. It's like side to side. It's sea to shining sea. Right here you can see the mulberry that I cut down. Actually, I'm pretty pleased with the thickness of the stalk there. That's going to keep this trellis, which is already falling over, from falling really much further. It's like this in-ground rooted pole for it. So that's neat. What I do for my raised beds is I insulate them over the winter. I've got finely mulched leaves and a little bit of grass just from clippings as the trees are starting to lose their leaves. This does a good job insulating it. What more can I say? It allows me to actually get in the soil earlier than I would if it were just straight up exposed. It doesn't freeze as deeply, right? And then you get these nice air pockets in here, which helps it warm up even quicker. And it suppresses weeds really, really well. I'll get a couple thistles, just because that's the nature of the soil that I'm working in, but I won't have a lot else to contend with. And depending on what I plant in the spring, I won't actually remove these. I'll just make a hole, dig, plant, and then put this around it. That prevents the weeds from growing up, around whatever I've planted. And as these break down, they add their nice nutrients to the soil. A lot of good carbon. Anybody want some mint? But seriously, look at the strawberries. All the runners that just went out. Whee! And away they go. And I gave away so many. So we'll see what they're like in the spring. I might be pulling these out and putting them in another bed, or giving them away, or filling in holes, doing what needs to be done. And now for the height of the Jerusalem artichokes. They're down here. That's right. I left these, the ends in so I can see where they are. They peel apart. Oh, great. Now I can't give you a good example. Anyways, they bend off and snap pretty easily. So when I come out here and I want to pull one up for a soup or whatever, I'll just kind of pull off the greenery. Should be able to do that into early winter. And I'm going to leave this section bare as a control to see truly how frozen it gets. And look at how much the soil has compacted. This was to the top here. I'm really surprised by it. Next spring I'll be getting a lot of new compost and some good soil to loosen things up for some root vegetables or whatever is going in here. And I will be thinning out the Jerusalem artichokes probably by half, because they do take over, you know. So if some of you are my neighbors in Wisconsin and you want to drive down in the spring, I know one of you's already reached out. Don't be shy. I'm happy to share. Look at how well the catnip is doing, and the lavender. I'm just going to leave this and see how well it overwinters. I think it's supposed to. I'm going to leave this too to tell you, well, no, I'll cut this down and give it to people with cats, but I'm really interested just to see what this does. Barrels are empty. I don't do anything with them. I should hack down the remaining rhubarb and actually, use it one last fresh rhubarb thing. Whether I get to that or not is to be determined. And above here, this is that horrible crawling, creeping grapevine that's yellowing out now. That'll be something I can clean off in the springtime too, but that completely squashed out the rhubarb underneath here. So it is going to be a big project in the spring. And one more thing, check it out. This is asparagus, and I think it's a volunteer, because I once upon a time years ago planted an asparagus over there, and then of course I got going on raspberries and it killed it. And this can't be related to it. It's too far away. And look, there's another one right here. My guess is that a bird or a squirrel or something, when the asparagus went to seed here, got it, and they actually self-seeded. I'm really surprised by it. We'll see what happens next year. Maybe I can dig out the crown and put it, back in the bed to fill in some of the space where ones have died. The wonders of gardening, right? Thank you for joining me. I've enjoyed my time in the garden this year. I should have taken more advantage of it, but truly I got distracted with my newborn daughter, who's 6 months old today. Kids are always a good excuse for putting back projects, right? Next year's theme is more of less in the garden. It's effectively going to be one variety of plant in each raised bed. So a bed full of tomatoes, a bed full of carrots, a bed full of peppers. So I'll effectively just be growing like 8 or 9 things in bulk, as opposed to about 30 things in less than bulk. Do you already know what you're doing next year? What were your highs and lows of your garden? Thanks for letting me know. It's always a pleasure hearing from you in the comments, even though I routinely do not respond back anymore. Still, you guys are my favorite. Have a wonderful winter. Stay warm, stay healthy, and we'll see you in 2022. Much love. Bye.